So I should probably have like a postscript on each episode. I should have a disclaimer because I don't have an editor, but when I go back through the recordings and I hear myself, I'm like, okay, that wasn't right. So a couple things to just wrap up. The general message on St. Paddy's Day today is, this whole idea of immigration and the identity of this country. And I know I spoke about anti-immigration being a right policy, and I know the right talks about, we're for, legal immigration, not just illegal immigration. This book has a lot of themes that are generally overlapped in current topics: Russia, Israel, Gaza. And you can't talk about these things without a lawyer, really. I mean, I should have a team of editors that say, don't say this, don't say that. And so there's some sensitive topics that come up, and I guess I just have to have a disclaimer, and I really don't have any legal expertise in how to do this. But, some of the wording I think is incorrect. And I say, for example, that Cornelius Vanderbilt, I refer to him as Mr. Cornelius when it should be Mr. Vanderbilt. Obviously, his life was impressive, and I think I refer to him as a guy, which is a little bit diminishing of his entire, character, career as a person, entrepreneur, really a magnet of U.S. commerce. I could go on with the list of accolades, but the wording, getting on a train on the gold rush, I meant to the gold rush in California. So there's these editing postscript things that should be corrected, but I just don't have the time to. And this is where I go back to like, okay, I'm going to do this for free, and you're just going to get shitty misinformation. That's what you're going to get for free. And that's the basis of social media, basically, is everyone shares. And because of Section 230, the platform is a platform, not a publisher. So who's the publisher? Who's the editor? I guess, who knows? Okay, so now this is not a disclaimer, but a digression. So yeah, we get what we pay for, and this is not a threat. It does sound like a threat a little bit, but this is a tiny little podcast. I do it for free. I'll keep doing it for free. I probably won't advertise because it's really not worth anything. No advertiser is going to put their money next to, just an arrogant asshole pontificating whatever, thinking he knows stuff from books he's read. That's really just a disaster of a partner for advertiser. So here's 3 minutes. I'm not sure if I should have added this or left it to be unsaid, but that's what you get. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic departs from Southampton, England. Its maiden voyage to New York. And J.P. Morgan is not on board. He is in France with his mistress. And the chairman of IMM, who runs the ship, Bruce Ismay, ends up resigning after an aggregate wealth amount in the first class of $500 million, the richest man being the real estate heir, John Jacob Astor. He's alone worth $87 million. Co-founder of the American Jewish Congress. He spends a week in Palestine, and he says, how many camels, how many hovels, yeshivas can you see? It's time to go. And so Isidore and Ida book their trip home on the Titanic. So this is the excerpt from The Last Ships from Hamburg. I really should learn how to say Hamburg. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology. And I was just listening to the podcast Founders, which is fascinating. He basically goes through these books and biographies, and Cornelius Vanderbilt was an episode I listened to, and he talked about the same way that Albert Balin in this book made money off of the company Hapag, basically shipping Jewish people from Germany to New York. He made a ton of money, and he became wealthy because he was able to get the ratio between first, second, and steerage class. And steerage was you could pack 2,000 people and basically make the economics work. But Vanderbilt made money off of steamships, and he was just this ruthless guy who would go, I guess it's called filibustering, where you go into another country and you instigate warfare. And I'm probably getting that totally wrong, but this is third hand from another podcast. He's getting it from a book. So really you should talk to Mr. Cornelius himself. But he's this wealthy guy, and he ends up converting his private yacht to a steamship to carry passengers. And then he makes, of course, his big money on railroads, getting people to California on the gold rush. So I don't know if I've been on this like weird obsession with early transportation and big ships. And I find it fascinating when you see these cruise liners, this revenge tourism people are doing post-COVID, going on these cruises, and the cruises are not all inclusive. So your bill can really rack up, and they have all kinds of crazy amenities on these cruises. And I've just been fascinated with the economics of making money off of a large group of people. And as they're passive on your steamship, you can like charge them for like multiple margaritas. What are you going to do? Not drink on a cruise? But back in the old days, the way they made money was just packing people in. And so this guy, Albert Balin, became known for his superior ships to the Cunard Line in the UK. And so the Cunard Line was suffering from, I think they had some accidents. They were not seaworthy. And Albert Balin had this German engineering where he was able to get the blue ribbon, or it was a record to get from Germany, from Cuxhaven to New York. And then they would also go through the UK and partner with the White Line, I believe it was. So the book is The Last Ships from Hamburg, Business Rivalry, and the Race to Save Russia's Jews on the Eve of World War I by Steven Ujifusa. And in Hamburg, it's the 1900s, and there's a village, immigrant village, Auswandererhallen. And this is Hapag, the shipping conglomerate, and they run this village. 43% passing through this village on their way to New York are Jewish. And they basically help with the processing of the border checkpoint in Ellis Island. So it's kind of like a clear, pre-check TSA where they ensure people get through Ellis Island. But this Balin guy is kind of the star of this book. Enter John Pierpont Morgan. He's a student of University of Göttingen in 1856, son of a prosperous banker out of Hartford, Connecticut. He pairs up with Philadelphia banker Anthony Drexel. They combine his father's firm, J.S. Morgan and Company, into a single financial entity, and it becomes one of the most powerful investment banks in the world. And Morgan disliked Jews, and Balin was Jewish. And they are the rivalry in this book. And J.P. Morgan has this international mercantile marine agreement. He's trying to capture the market, and he offers Balin to be a part of that. And it was, he considered Balin a threat to his shipping empire. So the demand at the time was this Jewish diaspora from Russia, because in April 1903, there was a pogrom on Easter Sunday, and rioters rampaged through the city's Jewish neighborhoods, killing 49 and injuring 600. And the sheer brutality sparked outrage and accelerated this Jewish migration out of the Russian Empire. 1905, Theodore Roosevelt is president. He detests the Russian Tsar Nicholas II, calling him a preposterous little creature, and denounces Russia's anti-Semitic policies. In private, however, it's said that the president was friends with Senator Henry Cabot Lodge from Massachusetts, who was considered anti-immigrant. The senator from Massachusetts is the supporter of the Immigration Restriction League. And he states, the gates which admit men to the United States and to citizenship in the Great Republic should no longer be left unguarded. And this is the early anti-immigration stance, which you hear now as a big policy on the right. And then you have Prescott Farnsworth Hall, who becomes the president of this Immigration Restriction League. He's a lawyer by training from Europe, and he detests German steamships and the pro-immigrant lobby, and he says, to hell with Jews, Jesuits, and steamships. And so you have this rivalry between the pro and anti-immigrant. It's an ongoing theme. So Balin teams up with Max Warburg, and he's an investor. And Max and Albert are German patriots. And it's ironic because the Kaiser Wilhelm II and Albert Balin are close friends. So the economics of the passengers, the Hapag superliner, the SS Imperator, sounds Spanish, 1913, 4,500 passengers, and mostly third class and steerage. And so Hapag pioneers this, quote, third class, which offered more affluent immigrants private cabins rather than dormitories, and meals served by waiters. It was obviously more austere when compared to first and second class, but it was a major improvement from the crowded steerage class. And then the White Star copied this approach. Oh, and this is interesting. So in 1913, the first and second class passengers are processed in Hoboken, and then the third class and steerage passengers are taken by ferry to Ellis Island for processing. So we talked a little bit about the rivalry, the race to save Russia's Jews, and business and immigration, and the Statue of Liberty from its French donors, an allegorical representation of the spirit of liberty. The poet Emma Lazarus called the statue the Mother of Exiles, welcoming newcomers to America. Her 1882 poem, The New Colossus, declared, I lift my lamp beside the golden door. So that's the book, folks. With this podcast, I'm really just struggling with how to make it work, and this idea of economics and how to monetize your shipping, and including 3 classes. In the podcast world or the media world, you have your talent, your production, your crew, and the financing model seems to either go from advertising sponsored or some subscription type. And this is, TV versus Netflix. And so either I have to charge for subscriptions or I have to get advertising. I mean, either way, I have to improve the show, obviously. But I can't afford to, buy a mic, get a studio, contribute so much time to this effort. So it's like, why do this stuff for free? And I think in the end, I read these books, but that's just information into my brain. So I just find that sharing it is a good thing, and I'll probably just do it for free. But the quality will be commensurate with the production efforts, I guess. So I just wonder why keep doing this is my question.